Is bread just food, or is it the most sacred food in the Middle East? Across the Middle East, bread holds a level of respect that outsiders often don't understand. It is not wasted. It is never thrown away casually. Some kiss it if it falls. Others place it in the highest spot on the table. Bread isn't simply eaten, it's honored. And in many communities from Egypt to Palestine, Iraq to Turkey, and Lebanon to the Gulf, bread carries a meaning far deeper than nourishment. But why does this one food carry so much spiritual weight, cultural pride, and ancient meaning? And does it truly deserve the title of the holiest food in Middle Eastern culture? To understand the sacredness of bread, we need to go back to the very beginning of settled life. The ancient Middle East, particularly the Fertile Crescent, was one of the first places where humans farmed wheat and barley. Thousands of years ago, communities along the Tigris, Euphrates, and Nile rivers domesticated grains and learned how to grind, knead, ferment, and bake them. These simple steps changed everything. Farming allowed people to settle, store food, and build societies. Bread became the first reliable staple. It fed families, armies, travelers, and entire kingdoms. Without bread, civilization in the Middle East would not have blossomed. This is the foundation of why bread is still seen as a symbol of life itself. The Middle East includes deserts, mountains, and arid plains. Water was precious. Food was never guaranteed. In this environment, bread became more than food. It was the most dependable source of calories. Bread required only a few simple ingredients: grain, water, salt, heat. When other foods were unavailable, bread sustained people. It lasted, could be stored, and could be baked fresh with minimal resources. In ancient households, bread was often the main meal, accompanied only by olive oil, herbs, or yogurt. Because survival depended on it, wasting bread was considered unthinkable. Reverence grew naturally from necessity. In many Middle Eastern languages, the word for bread is connected to the words for life, sustenance, and blessing. In Arabic, khubz is often associated with rizq, meaning God-given provision. In Hebrew, lechem forms the root of Beit Lechem, Bethlehem, meaning house of bread. In Persian, nan is tied to nourishment and home. These meanings reveal something important. Bread wasn't just a meal. It was a symbol of divine care. When people shared bread, they shared life and blessing. This spiritual connection helped bread become sacred across generations. In ancient Egypt, bread was baked in temples as offerings to the gods. Workers who built the pyramids were paid partly in bread and beer. Bread represented energy, strength, and divine favor. In Mesopotamia, bread appeared in religious rituals, sacrifices, and New Year ceremonies. It was shaped into symbols of the sun, moon, and fertility. Across ancient Levantine cultures, bread was associated with hospitality, peace, and covenant. Sharing bread meant creating a bond of trust and protection. These traditions deeply influenced Jewish, Christian, and Islamic cultures, where bread remained central to worship, blessing, and sacred rituals. Few foods appear as frequently in the religious heritage of the Middle East as bread. Bread is central in all three Abrahamic religions. In Judaism, unleavened bread is a foundation of Passover, symbolizing both hardship and liberation. Bread blessings are recited at meals. The Sabbath bread, challah, holds deep ritual meaning. In Christianity, bread symbolizes sacrifice, community, and remembrance. The breaking of bread became a core ritual of early Christians, reflecting unity and divine provision. In Islam, bread is treated with profound respect. Many Muslims will kiss bread that falls to the ground or lift it to a high place. Bread is considered a gift from God and should never be wasted. Feeding someone bread is seen as an act of charity with great spiritual reward. Because the Middle East is the birthplace of these religions, reverence for bread spread throughout the entire region. Bread was the meal that united the community for thousands of years. Middle Eastern families baked bread together. Villages often had communal ovens. Women gathered to knead dough, share stories, and exchange news. Bread wasn't just food, it was a social glue. Sharing bread meant sharing responsibility, friendship, and safety. In many cultures, refusing bread from someone was seen as an insult, while eating someone's bread formed a bond of loyalty. In tribal societies, these small acts of sharing helped prevent conflict and maintain peace. Bread united people, and that unity gave it emotional power. Bread also reflected economic and social status. Historically, bread revealed a family's prosperity. White bread signaled wealth because it required fine, sifted flour. Dark, coarse bread signaled modest means. Even so, bread in all forms was honored. Whether simple or elaborate, bread was the center of the table. In hard times, families might have nothing except bread and olives, a combination that sustained generations. This sense of humble dignity contributed to bread's sacred status. It represented both simplicity and abundance, depending on the season. Bread was a form of wealth and currency. In ancient markets, bread could be used as payment. It fed farmers, traders, soldiers, and laborers. Because it was universally valuable, bread became an informal currency. In Egypt, workers' wages were counted in loaves. In Mesopotamia, bread rations recorded a person's status. In the Levant, bread and salt symbolized alliances, truces, and hospitality agreements. A food so vital that it could represent wealth only grew more sacred with time. Bread absorbed layers of meaning in folklore. Throughout the Middle East, countless sayings, proverbs, and stories revolve around bread. In Arabic folklore, "Between us is bread and salt" means you and I have a bond that must not be broken. In Turkish, to eat someone's bread means to be treated with kindness and fairness. In Persian, bread and dignity are placed side by side in moral teaching. These phrases reveal the cultural weight bread carries. It represents loyalty, fairness, honor, and gratitude. Bread is the heart of Middle Eastern hospitality. Hospitality is a sacred duty in Middle Eastern culture. Offering bread to a guest is the first and most important act of welcome. In the desert, sharing bread was a sign of protection. If someone ate your bread, they were under your care. Harm could not come to them. This tradition still appears today. Bread is served at the start of a meal. Bread is used to scoop dips, olives, and stews. Bread is baked fresh for guests. Bread is used as a symbol of generosity. Bread became sacred because it embodied the best of Middle Eastern values: hospitality, care, and community. Many bread customs in the Middle East are ancient and still followed today. Kissing bread that falls to the ground. Never placing bread upside down. Storing bread in clean, elevated places. Giving leftover bread to birds or animals instead of throwing it away. Offering bread before any other food. Baking large, round loaves for celebrations. Serving special breads for holidays and religious events. These rituals show just how deeply bread is woven into cultural memory. Bread connects the past and present in everyday life. Today, modern Middle Eastern households still honor bread. From taboon bread in Palestine, to pita in the Levant, to lavash in Armenia, to khubz in the Gulf, bread remains the center of the table. Even with globalized diets, bread hasn't lost its meaning. Bread remains the one food that every generation recognizes and respects. Bread represents gratitude and humility. Reverence for bread teaches a cultural message. Be grateful for what you have, and remember the hardships of your ancestors. In many families, elders remind children not to waste bread because their grandparents survived famine, war, or displacement. Bread holds memory. It reminds people of how families endured droughts, sieges, migrations, and poverty. Treating bread as sacred is a way of honoring those who struggled so future generations could live. So, after thousands of years of history, survival, religion, and tradition, is bread truly the most sacred food in the Middle East? Based on everything we've explored, its role in ancient civilizations, its place in faith, its power to unite communities, and the deep respect shown for it across the region, bread certainly has a strong claim to the title. It belongs to the cultures and families who still honor it every single day. So I want to hear from you. Is bread the holiest food in the Middle East? Or does another food deserve that title? Let us know your thoughts, your traditions, and your stories in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into why bread is sacred in the Middle East, please like, subscribe, and join us next time as we uncover more history and traditions across the region.